Hare Krishna. So I would like to welcome all the devotees for the Gita Sandesh program today. So we are in the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Before we start reciting the verses, let us do the Mangalacharan. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namasreshtham Manumapi Sachiputram Atra Swarupam Rupam Tasyagrajam Gurupuri Maturim Goshtavatim Radha Kundam Givaramaho Radhika Madhavasam Prapto Yasya Tataya Shri Gurum Tam Natosmi Krishna Danyamajanatakshanamapi Swapnepi Veshveshware Tasmin Bhakti Mahaitukim Vidadato Hritkaya Vagvi Sada Shrilan Sadguna Punjakeli Nilayan Premavataranaham Vande Bhagavatani Mananudavam Mudnani Patyakshitau Ajanulambita Bhujau Kanakavadato Sankirtanaikapitarau Kamalayatakshaw Vishwambharau Dvijavarau Yugadharma Palau Vande Jagatpriyakarau Karunavataro He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Neelachala Nivasaya Nityaya Paramatmane Balabhadra Subhadrabhyam Jagannataya Te Namaha. Hare Krishna. So we are in the 13th chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So this 13th chapter has been named by Sripad Shankaracharya, Madhvacharya, and many other acharyas in different names. So it's called a Kshetrajna Yoga. Baldev Vidya Bhushan named it as Prakriti Purusha Vibhaga Yoga. His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada named it as, in English, as Nature, the Enjoyer and the Consciousness. So, what is the relationship with the previous chapters? So, one may ask, if Bhakti is the culmination of Yoga ladder, why is Jnana Yoga presented after Bhakti Yoga? So, what does it mean? Is that, so if you have observed, we are in the 13th chapter. So, 13th till the 18th chapter is the last 6 chapters. So when we were in between, we were in the when we finished the 6th chapter, we entered into the 12th chapter. Yeah. So at that time, we entered into the 7th chapter, 6th, 7th till 12th. So I said that this is actually the Bhakti aspect. It is the middle section of the Bhagavad Gita, and this is a core aspect, right? This is the main aspect. So there Krishna discusses so much about Bhakti Yoga. Then if Bhakti is the ultimate thing of Bhagavad Gita, then why after the 12th chapter Krishna is again speaking about Jnana? So this is a question which comes. If Bhakti is the culmination, then why is Bhakti kept in between? Why is it not there towards the end? Yeah. So the answer is here. The precise natures of Jiva, Ishvara, Prakriti, which are briefly discussed in the previous 6 chapters, will be further explained elaborately in the last 6 chapters. So this is called as Jnana Shatka. Shatka means hexad. 6 chapters are together called as Shatka, Jnana Shatka. So first 6 chapters are Karma Shatka. The middle 6 chapters are Bhakti Shatka. Right. So this Jnana serves as a doorstep to Bhakti, which was just taught in detail in last 6 chapters. So first Krishna explained about so much about Bhakti in the 7th to 12th chapters. After that, he's giving the knowledge by which Bhakti can be obtained. Yes. By practicing Jnana Yoga, as described in Jnana Shatka, the practitioner, Jnani, achieves Brahma Bhuta platform, self-realization, from where Bhakti begins. So this Jnana, this knowledge actually is not normal, like general knowledge or knowledge that is like that of the Jnanis or the impersonalists. This Jnana is actually Bhakti related Jnana, which will help a devotee become a better devotee. So this is Jnana which is related to Bhakti. So in this chapter, Krishna describes in detail what is Kshetra, what is Kshetrajna, Jnana, Gneya, Prakriti and Purusha. Why? Because Arjuna asks these questions. So we have mentioned the caption of this chapter as no Prakriti, Purusha and fight. So the first question of Arjuna is he's asking what is Kshetra, what is Kshetrajna, what is Jnana, Gneya, Prakriti and Purusha. And then Krishna consequently explains all these things in detail. Yes. Arjuna uvacha Prakritim Purusham Chaiva Kshetram Kshetragnam Evacha Etad Veditum Ichhami Jnanam Neyam Cha Keshava. So, O Keshava, Arjuna is asking, I desire to know about Prakriti, Purusha, the field, Kshetra, the knower of the field, Kshetrajna, as well as the process of knowledge, Jnanam, and the object of knowledge. What is supposed to be known through the knowledge? Now, 2 to 7 verses, Krishna is explaining the difference between Kshetra and Kshetrajna. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Idam Shariram Kaunteya Kshetram iti abhidhiyate Etad yo vetti tam prahu Kshetrajna iti tadvidha. The Lord said, O son of Kunti, this body is called the field. So what is a Kshetra? The body. The body is the Kshetra, the field of activities. Those are knowledge call the person who knows his field as the knower of the field. Kshetrajna. So who is Kshetrajna? The person who is residing within the Kshetra, the field of activities. So that is the Atma. Kshetragnam chapi mam viddhi sarva kshetreshu bharata kshetra kshetragna yojnanam yatta jnanam matam mama. O descendant of Bharata, know that I alone am the knower of the field in all bodies. According to me, knowledge means knowledge of the two knowers and the field. So Krishna is saying, Kshetrajna is not just the Atma. Kshetrajna is knower of Kshetra. So who is that? Not only Atma, but also Paramatma. So what is Jnanam? What is knowledge? Knowledge is to know that there are two people in the field of activities. That is, Atma is also there, Paramatma is there. That is real knowledge. Krishna is saying. So what all to be known regarding Kshetra and Kshetrajna? Tat Kshetram Yaccha Yadrakcha Yadvikari Yatascha Yat Sachayo Yat Prabhavascha Tat Samasena Me Shrunu. He's saying, hear from me briefly. Kshetram, field of activity. Its composition. What is the composition of the field of activity? Yadraksha, what is dependent on that kshetra, that is the body? What are its transformations? Yad vikari, what are the transformations of the body? Yata, what is the purpose of the body? Yat, its form, the form of the body. Sacha, the knowers of the field, that is, who are inside the body. Kshetrajna. So they are Jiva and Super Soul, both. Yat Prabhava, their influences and energies. So all these things are supposed to be known. Krishna is going to describe this based on the authority. Rishabhir Bahudagitam Chandobhir Vividai Pratak Brahma Sutra Padaishaiva Hetu Madbir Vinishchitai. This has been described by many rishis in many verses of the Vedas and by the logical, very decisive words of the Brahma Sutras. So all these things Krishna is saying. So Krishna can say, I know everything, so you just listen from me. No, he's showing the example of a guru, example of a teacher, how the teacher quotes or refers to the Shastra or the Vedas, which are the Shastras. Right? So Krishna is showing an example. He's saying that I'm speaking, but all these things are described in the Vedas. So that is authority. Vedas are the authority. Based on the Vedas, I'm speaking all these things. Mahabhutani ahankaro buddhir avyaktamev cha indriyani dashayikam cha pancha chendriya gochara ichchadvesha sukham dukkam sanghatas chetana dhriti etat kshetram samasena savikaram udahritam. The field, in brief, is said to consist of the 5 gross elements. So, what is consisting? The body is consisting of 5 gross elements. Panchamahabhuta, earth, water, air, fire, ether, right? Then false ego, intelligence, Mula Prakriti, that is Pradhana. Then the 10 senses, the mind, and the 5 sense objects. Yeah. Desire, hatred, happiness. So the 10 senses are the 5 knowledge acquiring senses and 5 karmendriyas. There are karmendriyas, jnanendriyas. So there are 5 each. They are together called as 10 senses. So this eyes, nose, ears, they're all jnanendriyas. Then we have hands, legs, those things, stomach, and all those things are all karmendriyas, which help us to do action. Then there is desire, hatred, happiness, distress, the body, which acts as a support for the jiva along with its transformations. So all these things are there. So 20 factors that help attaining the knowledge are mentioned in next 5 shlokas. Jnana. So 2 to 7 verses, Krishna described about Kshetra, Kshetrajna. Kshetrajna is 2 types. Kshetra is actually the field of activities. The field of activities is not just the gross body, it is also subtle body and the senses, the objects, and desire, hatred, happiness, distress, and transformations. So all these things are there in the Kshetra. Now Krishna is describing about Jnana. Then he will describe about Jnana. Jnana means process of knowledge. Jnana means through that knowledge, what is supposed to be known. Amanitvam adambitvam ahimsa kshantirarjavam acharyopasanam shaucham stairyam atma vinigraha. Freedom from pride, lack of ostentation, non-violence, forbearance, sincerity, worship of the teacher, acharyopasanam, purity, steadiness, and spiritual commitment, control of the mind. So Krishna is saying that these are jnana. This is actually knowledge. He's not saying you have to be BTech or BCom, right? Yeah. He's not saying English or Sanskrit or Telugu. Yeah. Or that how much information you know, right? As soon as you ask some question, you can give an answer. So he's saying not that. That is not the knowledge. This is the knowledge. All these qualities, they are the real knowledge. Indriyardeshu vairagyam anahankara evacha janma mrityu jara vyadhi dukkha doshanudarshanam. Detachment from enjoyment of sense objects, lack of identification with body, understanding that all states of existence such as birth, death, old age and disease give rise to suffering. So these are elements of jnana. Yes, indriyardeshu vairagyam, detachment, anahankara, lack of identification, not having ahankara for the body, and understanding that janma mrityu jara vyadhi is there, birth, disease, old age, death, they are there. They give rise to suffering. So this is actually knowledge. Asaktir anabhisvanga putra dara grihadishu nityam cha samachittatvam ishtopapattishu. Freedom from attachment to others, lack of identification with the condition of sons and others. Yeah. Putra dara grihadishu. Lack of identification with the condition of the putra dara, right? Sons and others. Equanimity of mind, nityam cha samachittatvam, that is equanimity of mind. In the face of desirable or undesirable events. Ishtan, anishto, upapattishu. So ishta, those things, situations which you desire. Anishta means that those things which you don't desire. In those both the events, equanimity of the mind, freedom from attachment to others. Mai chananya yogena bhaktir avyabhicharini vivikta desha sevitvam haratirjana samsadi. Is saying devotion to me with undeviating attention. My devotion to me. It is personal. It is bhakti. Mai cha ananya yogena. Undeviating attention. Bhaktir avyabhicharini. Pure bhakti. Avyabhichari bhakti. Yeah. And Vivikta Desha Sevitvam Aratir Janasamsadi. And he Janasamsadi means followers, right? Popularity, fame. He's not desiring that. Adhyatma Jnana Nityatvam Tattva Jnanartha Darshanam Eta Jnanam Iti Proktam Ajnanam Yad Atonyatha. Constant deliberation on Atma and always keeping in mind the goal of liberation. All of these are declared to be the method for gaining knowledge. What is otherwise is ignorance. So he's saying, Adhyatma Jnana Nityatvam Tattva Jnanartha Darshanam. So constant deliberation on the Atma. Adhyatma Jnana, always deliberating on the Atma. Tattva Jnanartha Darshanam, always keeping in mind the goal of liberation. All of these are declared to be method of gaining knowledge. This is the method of gaining knowledge. What is otherwise is ignorance. If person doesn't have all these things, then otherwise is ignorance only. A person might be thinking that he is very advanced. There is one song which is written by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He says, Jadavidya, Mayarjal. He says that all this education which you have gone through, material education, it's Mayarjal. It is making us, he says that, it's like load on the donkey, the back of a donkey, right? Yeah, it is, we are boasting that we have so many degrees or knowledge and everything. But actually, we are as foolish as a donkey because we are ignorant of our own self, ignorant of the world, ignorant of the situation we are in, right? So all these things are there, but difficult to digest. Yeah. So what is otherwise is ignorance actually. Neya, the knowable, is explained in the next section. Krishna is explaining about what is supposed to be known. Yeah. All these are aspects of knowledge. Then what are we supposed to be known? Jnaya, object of knowledge. Jnayam yattat pravakshyami yajnatva amritam ashnute anadimat param brahma nasattan nasaduchyate. I will now speak about the object of knowledge. knowing which you will attain liberation. This Atma is without beginning, dependent on me, and beyond material cause and effect. So it's saying, uh, not only Atma, but also Paramatma is the Gneya. So what is supposed to be known? Not just the Atma, but also the Paramatma. Yes. And this is actually without beginning. It is dependent on me, that is Krishna, and beyond material cause and effect. So that is actually transcendental. That is what is supposed to be known. Sarvata panipadam tat sarvatokshi shiromukham sarvata shrutimaloke sarvam avritya tishtati. He's saying everywhere this Paramatma has its hands and feet. Sarvata pani padam sarvato akshi shiromukham. Everywhere Paramatma has its eyes. So he is giving more description about the Paramatma. Everywhere are its ears. Paramatma covers everything in the universe. Yes, he spread everywhere. Andantarascha paramanu andantarastha paramanu chayantarastam. So it is said he is present in every anda. He is present in every atom. So that is the Paramatma. Sarvendriya gunabhasam sarvendriya vivarjatam asaktam sarvabhrachaiva nirgunam gunabhoktrucha. He's saying that Paramatma is made glorious by having all senses and sense objects, but is devoid of all material senses. He is without attachment, but maintains everything. He is without material qualities, but he is the enjoyer of all good qualities. Right? So Paramatma, Sarvendriya, he is made glorious, Gunabhasam, by having all senses and sense objects. Yeah. All senses and sense objects are residing in the Paramatma. But he doesn't have any material elements in him. He is without attachment. He maintains everything. He doesn't have any material qualities. And he is enjoyer of all good qualities. Bahirantasya bhutanam acharam charamevacha sukshmatvat tad avigneyam durastam chantike chatat. He's saying he's outside and inside all things. He moves and does not move. He is difficult to understand because of his subtle nature. He is not perceivable, but he can be perceived. Not perceivable means in general he is not perceived. But if you are qualified, you can perceive him. Avibhaktam cha bhuteshu vibhaktam ivachastitam bhuta bhartar cha tadnyayam krishnashu prabhavishnu cha. He's saying he is undivided and also divided in all living entities. His undivided means the Paramatma cannot be divided further. But he is divided in all living entities means he is present in all living entities. And even if he is present in all living entities, it is not that he is one. He's multiplied himself to accompany every Jivatma in the body. So he is divided himself. He is to be known as maintenance. Yeah. He is actually maintenance. He is maintaining everything. And he is to be known as destruction. So when time comes, when Paramatma leaves the body, then the body becomes dysfunctional. Right? And the creation of all things. So he is actually the cause, because if Paramatma is there, then the soul will be able to sustain the body. If Paramatma leaves the body, then the soul also will have to leave the body. Right? And to run this body, because Atma cannot control the body actually. The Jiva doesn't have the capacity to control, because the Jiva is controlled. It is Shakti. Who is controller? Shaktiman. That is Krishna as Paramatma. So actually what happens is, in our body, suppose we desire to drink something or eat something. So we want to utilize our hands for that purpose, or legs for that purpose, or we want to use our mouth and eyes for that purpose. So who will be able to actually make these things work is actually the Paramatma. Paramatma will move the hands. Paramatma moves the legs because he is the controller of the Kshetra. We are not the controller of the Kshetra. We are just residing in the Kshetra. So he is the person who enables us to utilize our senses. Jyotisham api tajyotis tamasa paramuchyate jnanam neyam jnanagamyam hridi sarvasya vistitam. He, the source of light of all luminous bodies, is said to be beyond matter. He is beyond matter. He is knowledge. He is to be known and obtained by the process of knowledge. He is situated in the heart of all. He is present in everyone's heart. He is actually looking at us very piteously. He's asking us to come back to him, turn the face towards him. But unfortunately, we are not doing it. Therefore, we are in so much of illusion and so much of suffering in this world. But the Paramatma is kindly there in our heart and is facilitating all kinds of desires for the Jivatma. He is very kind. Iti kshetram tadajnanam neyam choktam samasatah madbhakta etad vignaya madbhava upapadyate. Yes. Thus, I have described concisely the field, the process of knowing, and the object of knowledge. My devotee, understanding this, becomes qualified for prema, that is, love for the Lord. Mad bhavayo upapadyate. So, this will actually give us the qualification for loving the Lord by knowing all these things. Now, Arjuna also asked two other questions. He said, what is Prakriti, Purusha, and what is their relationship? Please explain. Now, Arjuna is explaining that. Prakritim Purusham Chaiva Vidhi Anadi Ubhavapi Vikaramscha Gunamschaiva Vidhi Prakriti Sambhavan. He's saying, know that both Prakriti and the Jiva are without origin. And know that the body, senses, happiness and distress all arise from Prakriti. So all these different senses and the body, they are actually arising from the material nature, that is a Prakriti. But the Prakriti also doesn't have an origin, it is eternally present. The Jiva is eternally present. Then what is temporary is only the transformations. So who is the cause for experiencing that happiness and distress? Karya karana kartritve hetu prakriti ruchyate purusha sukha dukkhanam bhoktrutve hetu uchyate. Saying Prakriti is said to be the cause, instrumental in producing the body and senses. The Jiva is said to be the cause, being the enjoyer of happiness and distress. So Prakriti is the cause. Jiva is also the cause. Both are the cause. Yes. First, it is a Jiva. Yes. So he actually desires, and then the Prakriti facilitates. So the Prakriti is intermediate cause. Then it is instrumental in producing body and senses. And then who is actually experiencing the happiness and distress? Not the Prakriti, because the Prakriti is matter. It is inert. It doesn't have consciousness. So the Jiva who is residing in the body which is given by the Prakriti, he is actually enjoying happiness or distress. How is Jiva experiencing transformations such as happiness and distress? Purusha prakritisto hi bhungte prakritijan gunan karanam guna sangosya sadasat janmayonishu. He says, the Jiva, identifying with Prakriti in the form of his body, experiences happiness and distress, which are born from Prakriti by birth in various bodies of Devata and animal. This is caused by his desires for objects made of the gunas. So the Jiva is considering that he is Prakriti, right? So Jiva, though is actually spiritual, he's actually above the Prakriti. Jiva is thinking that I am this body. So therefore, feeling connection to the body, feeling attachment to the body, it is experiencing stress or distress. Hmm? Like suppose like I remember like when I was driving recently, I was going to a farm in my car. So in the farm that was a narrow road, and then there are a lot of trees here and there. So trees, there were some thorny trees also. So when I was driving my car, the thorns were actually scratching my car, and I was feeling so much pain. Uh, Actually, the thorns are not scratching me; they're scratching my car. But I was very attached to my car, so I was feeling that they are going to uh, put some scratches on the body, and the paint will be disturbed, right? The paint will be spoiled. So I'm identifying with my car, so therefore I'm feeling the pain, but actually nothing is happening to me, right? In the same way, the jiva is experiencing happiness or distress because of its identification, right? उपदृष्टानुमन्ता च भर्ता भोक्ता महेश्वरः परमात्मेति चापि युक्तो देहेऽस्मिन् पुरुषः परः. So there is also a supreme person in the body called Paramatma, the great Lord, who is the witness situated close to the Jiva, the permitter of the Jiva's actions, the supporter and the ruler of the Jiva. Sometimes we feel that there is nobody in the person, nobody in the world who is watching me. I'm alone. Sometimes you might be thinking like that. Sometimes someone might commit some crime, and he might escape from everyone's eyes, but he can't escape from the Paramatma's eyes. So there was once a story of a small boy, right, who later became a great acharya. So the boy was asked by his spiritual master, his guru, all the children were given one mango, and the guru told each of them, told all of them that you all can go anywhere, you want to go, but eat this mango where you feel that there is no person who is watching you, right? And you should go and eat over there. Yes. So some people went and ate in a cave. Some people went and ate in a forest. Some people went and hid inside a room and they ate, right? Like that. So one student who was very bright, was very sharp, very advanced. So that student came back to the guru and he said that, sorry, Guruji, I can't eat this mango because wherever I go, I always will carry the Paramatma in my heart. So the Paramatma is always seeing it. So how can I eat with no one seeing it? Isn't it? So then the Guru appreciated the disciple. So the Paramatma is always watching the Jiva. Ya evam vetti purusham prakritim cha gunai saha sarvatha vartamanopi nasa bhuyo abhijayate. He who knows the Paramatma, the Prakriti, along with the gunas and the Jiva, does not take birth again, though encountering all sorts of circumstances in this world. So, person might be facing so many difficulties in this world, so many different kinds of situations of this world. But if he knows all these things, what is Paramatma, what is Prakriti, and what are the gunas, what is the Jiva, he doesn't take birth again. ध्यानेनात्मनि पश्यन्ति केचिद् आत्मानमात्मना अन्ये सांख्येन योगेन कर्म योगेन चापरे. Some see Paramatma through meditation. Yes. Others see him by Jnana Yoga, some by Ashtanga Yoga, some by Nishkama Karma Yoga. So Krishna is saying how you can see the Paramatma. Anyet tu evam ajananta shrutva nebhya upasate tepi chatitarantyeva mrityum shruti parayana. He's saying that others with faith in the Vedas, though not knowing these methods, hear about them from others and then worship me. They also surpass death. So he's saying these are people who are Jnana Yogis, Ashtanga yogis, Nishkama karma yogis. And here he's saying others. Who are they? They are the devotees. Because they have faith in the Vedas. So they might not know all these methods of Ashtanga yoga, Jnana yoga and all. But what do? They hear about them from others. Others means devotees or from Bhagavad Gita, from Krishna. And then they worship me. They also will surpass death. Krishna is saying. So this is the devotees. So easy. The devotional process is very simple and easy, powerful. So what is the benefit of all this? Whoever knows Kshetra, Kshetrajna, Jnana, Jneya, Prakriti, Purusha. What are these? Because he has come to knowledge. He is not under illusion. He is not under ignorance. Therefore, he will be liberated. Yavat sanjayate kinchit sattvam sthavara jangamam kshetra kshetrajna samyogat tadviddi bharatarshava. He is saying, know that all entities, whether moving or non-moving, high or low, appear from the combination of matter and jiva. O best of Bharata. So he's saying, know that all entities, whether moving or non-moving, high or low, appear from the combination of matter and jiva. O best of Bharata. So someone might be a rich man, someone might be a poor man, someone might be very greatly educated, someone might not have any sort of education, right? But we must understand that all these things are just a combination of matter. All these differences are just combination of matter. Samam sarveshu bhuteshu tishtantam parameshwaram vinashyatsu avinashyantam yah pashyati sapashyati. One who sees the indestructible Paramatma situated equally in all destructible bodies actually sees. So he is in great knowledge. He is actually seeing the world. He is actually seeing the truth. That is why Krishna is saying he is actually seeing. Others who are seeing this all the world as just mere bodies and mere buildings and all this matter, he is covered by ignorance. One who is in intelligence, yeah, he sees that which is permanent, which is indestructible. Everything else is destructible, right? So that's why Krishna is saying that he is actually seeing. One who is seeing the Paramatma is actually seeing the world. Samam pashyan hi sarvatra samavastitam ishwaram na hinasti atman atmanam tato yati param gatim. He says, he who sees Paramatma situated everywhere equally does not degrade the soul by the deviating mind and attains the excellent position. So he doesn't degrade the soul. He doesn't get distracted. Yeah. Because he is able to see Paramatma situated everywhere. So that vision doesn't degrade the person. The mind will be very much controlled. The mind, which is normally very, very deviating, when it gets this kind of vision, when it is able to see like this, when it has this great knowledge, then it attains a very excellent position, which is non deviating. Prakrityaiva cha karmani kriyamanani sarvashaha yah pashyati tatatmanam akartaram sapashyati. He said, he who sees all activities being done by matter alone and sees the soul as doing nothing, actually sees. Soul is actually not doing anything. Everything is done by the matter only. This is intelligence. Yada bhuta pratak bhavam ekastam manupashyati tata eva cha vistaram brahma sampadhyate tada. Brahma sampadhyate tada. Saying, when one sees that all separate beings are situated in one prakriti at the time of dissolution. Yes. At the time of dissolution. pralaya, all separated beings actually are covered by, one can see that they're all situated inside the Prakriti, and arise from that Prakriti at the time of creation, he realizes the Atma. Yes, because all the bodies which are there, they're actually coming from Prakriti. What is Prakriti? It is all the raw material. Prakriti, Pradhana, right? So it's actually the raw material. The various manifestations are actually coming from the Pradhana. So what is Pradhana? It is like your gross ingredients. Suppose like you want to make some sweet rice. So how do you make sweet rice? You make with milk. You will have sugar. You will need rice, isn't it? Yeah, and you might need some cashews. You might need some kismis, something like that. So if you put all those things, ingredients separately, that is called as pradhana, right? And when you actually combine them and give them a form, then that is actually compared to prakriti. And with rice, you can do many other transformations. You can make some, you know, curd rice. You can make lemon rice, different fried rice, so many things, right? Different transformations. So at the time of dissolution, everything comes back to the raw ingredients, right? To different manifestations. So one should understand that. Anaditvan nirgunatvat paramatmayam avyaya shariras kaunteya nakaroti na lipyate. O Kaunteya, though situated in the body, the Atma, as well as being without beginning, is without destruction. Yeah, the Atma is without destruction. It doesn't have a beginning also. It is eternally present. Because the Atma is beyond the gunas, he is not the agent of action and is thus not contaminated. The Atma is not contaminated by the gunas. But then what is the Atma doing? It is under avidya, it is under ignorance. And then in ignorance, it is thinking that it is actually the doer, but actually it is not the doer. Everything is done by the material nature. So he is not the agent of action. He is not contaminated, it is pure. But it is just like in Shastras it is said, that it is just like a dream. This entire material world, this all experience is actually just like a dream. Sometimes in the dream, you imagine yourself so many things. You imagine that you went to the forest. Sometimes you might have seen different birds. Suddenly, there might be some tiger in the dream who's attacking you, and the tiger must have even killed you, right? And you become horrified and you get up, but you see there is no tiger, there is nothing, you are actually alive, right? So in the same way, this entire experience in this material world, in different situations, different bodies and different circumstances, is all compared to like a dream, right? In the Shastras, it is compared like that. It is actually a dream. यथा सर्वगतं सौक्ष्म्यात् आकाशं नोपलिप्यते सर्वत्रावस्थितो देहे ततात्मा नोपलिप्यते. Just as the ether which spreads everywhere is not contaminated, the Atma, though situated everywhere in the body, is not contaminated because of its subtle nature. So Atma is not contaminated. How does the Atma illuminate the entire body? How does it spread its consciousness everywhere? They said Atma is actually situated in the heart, but its consciousness is spread everywhere. How was it? Yata prakashayati ekaha kritsnam lokam imam ravi kshetram kshetri tatha kritsnam prakashayati bharata. Just as one sun lights, just as one sun lights up the whole world, yata prakashayati ekaha, this Atma illuminates the whole body. O descendant of Bharata. So Krishna is giving an analogy over here. Just like the sun, it illuminates the whole world. The same way the Atma, though it's present at one place, it actually spreads the consciousness, illuminates the whole body. क्षेत्रज्ञयोर एवं अंतरम ज्ञान चक्षुषा भूत प्रकृति मोक्षम च ये विदुर्यांति ते परम. Those who know the difference between the two knowers of the field. Who are the two knowers of the field? Atma and Paramatma. And who also know the process for liberation from Prakriti for the living entities attain the Supreme Good. They should also know what is the process of liberation, how to get out of this Prakriti. Yeah, so that who also know the process of liberation from Prakriti for the living entities, they attain the Supreme Good. So Krishna is concluding saying that one who knows all this Kshetra, Kshetrajna, Jnanam, Neyam, Prakriti, Purusha, they will attain the Supreme Goal. Hare Krishna. So we end over here. If you have any questions. Yes. Please ask questions.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Guruji, now I don't have any questions, but this chapter I found a little bit difficult. I think some more time should be devoted to this chapter compared to others.
Really?
Yeah.
It is
No, this
fairly simple.
No. This explanation, no, because I think some this explanation regarding Kshetra, this one, so many terminologies are there. Then I found it little bit difficult. Maybe other people, other devotees may be comfortable or they might have grasped. But this is purely my opinion.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know about others.
Yeah. You must yourself have to give a reading. Then you will actually.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah, because there are many scientific terms.
Yeah.
And they're very, very similar also.
Ji.
Right. So then you should actually give a reading yourself. Then you can. Otherwise, you'll get confused. What is Kshetra? What is
yeah. So many people. Yeah.
Thanks.
Prabhuji, I understand from this chapter. I would like to have your opinion here. What I understood, how correct or how true to the fact it is. Kshetra, the body, is like Kurukshetra, the war, the body. The body is the war. According to my imagination of the Bhagavad Gita, body is the war. The soul is God. And the types of souls inside one soul, in our one body, are the Kauravas and the Pandavas.
Yeah, this, let me pause you here. Actually, this kind of an explanation is given by certain kinds of people, but it is not actually accepted by, especially Srila Prabhupada did not approve this kind of interpretation. The Kurukshetra war and the body and senses, Kauravas, Pandavas. Yeah, he didn't approve this kind of explanation actually.
As in the Bhagavad Gita chapter, how it is described, as how you interpreted and read the chapter, I really felt what I understood was, if we really dedicate to the chapter 13, and as in when I read along with you, Guruji, I have a habit of reading along with you, understanding every Sanskrit word, because if I don't understand, then I will not move ahead. I'm like that person. So when I understood from chapter 13 it's a human body. Prabhupada has written over here that the human body is Kurukshetra, according to what my understanding is of what the writings are. And the soul is God. And the parts of the bodies are the Kauravas and Pandavas, wherein while in our living birth period, till we die, whatever parts we lose are the Kauravas losing towards the Pandavas. Is really, I'm feeling like that. And if one lives with a subtle body, that is a completely healthy body, and the soul leaving that healthy body after probably 100 years or whatever, that means God wanted to be in that pure body and leave that pure body for a different habitat, a different
Yeah,
pure body.
that's right. That's right.
Yeah. So it's like going from a small 1 BHK flat to a mansion.
Yeah,
Like God is
definitely.
changing from,
Yeah, the spiritual world is very, very attractive. So
yeah,
it is very attractive. It is said, there every, every talk is actually music, and every, walk is actually dance. Yeah,
and
and
your words are magic now.
you know, it is said that it is very attractive place, and there is no old age, there is no disease there, and people are very loving with each other. There also we have it is all. So it is said that actually this material world is a reflection of the spiritual world. Okay, if some, but there are many people who say it otherwise. They say that because you're human beings, so you have created the form of a human being for God. Therefore, you're worshipping God like a human. If animals also were to worship God, then they would have created God like that of an animal. Yeah. So this is all nonsense actually, because logically, if you see, who is first existing? God is existing, right? So it is said even in the Bible, I think you must be knowing that man is made in the image of God, right? So God is the source. We are the reflection. We are the byproducts of the Lord. So when Lord was creating different species of this world, he felt that there has to be a species which is the highest species. That is, a human species is the highest species, because that species will be able to understand the nature of this world, and that species, that birth, will help the jivatma to get liberated. So only it is possible in the human form. So he felt that this is the highest species, and that highest species should be in my form. So man is made in the image of God, not God is made in the image of man, which people think. That is one thing. And another example, wonderful example, is given by our acharyas, is that there is actual moon, and there is a reflection of the moon in the water, right? So if the water is still, you see that the moon is there in the water, but there will be waves in the water. So the waves in the water will they shake, give a shaky image of the moon. So similarly, it is said the actual world is the spiritual world. This world is like the shaky reflection of the moon in the water. So that is the difference. So this is dupe. If someone thinks, there was in childhood we were told a story that there was a fox or something, right? And it saw that there is a mango on the top of a tree on the bank of a river, right? And it wanted to eat that mango, but it felt, I can't climb this, and saw the reflection also in the bank of the river and jumped inside, but it could not find the mango, right? So we are also trying to find that mango in this material world, but that is a reflection. So no matter how much you will try, you will never get the mango, because the reflection, there is no mango there. So you have to go to the top of the tree. There you will get the actual mango, which is juicy, tasty, which you can relish. So this way we have to understand.
True.
Yeah.
And the reflection is the super soul, which we will never find unless we are really superhuman beings.
Yeah. The reflection is this material nature, which is an illusion. And yeah, the super soul is always guiding us. Sometimes whenever we are doing some activity, suppose like there is something danger which is going to come, our intuition actually tells to us, this is wrong, don't do this, or we are doing something wrong, sinful activity, don't do this is wrong, correct or not. So who is that telling us? That is not the Atma, that is actually the Paramatma, who is our friend, who is telling us, no, don't do this is right, this is wrong. So he is there as a guide to help us. But those who are fortunate, they will take help of the Paramatma. Those who are not fortunate, they ignore the instructions of the Paramatma. So actually, Paramatma is speaking to us at every moment. But because we have been dumb to him, deaf to him, right, playing deaf to him, so now we are not able to hear him. But if we actually advance, if we become purified, and at every moment we'll be able to hear the voice of the Paramatma, right? So yeah, as you said, we have to realize that Paramatma, that is only the spiritual path. Yeah.
Prabhuji, the example of a mango, can we even give an example in the similar manner, like the Radha Madhava temple or the Radha Madan Mohan temple, the idols of the Radha Madhava and the Radha Madan Mohan, the reflection of Radha Madan Mohan and the Radha Madhava as super souls, who we can never find unless we really are meditating and chanting to the supreme levels.
Right.
Because we are able to pray and touch the feet of the idols if we work for it. We have to do bhakti for it, to go near to the idols, to touch the feet of the lotus feet of the idols. We have to do that much bhakti, and to attain the soul of the same idol, the super soul, is really difficult, really, for a supreme being. The example of a mango interpreted in a different manner. And I feel I want to do that bhakti, to touch the lotus feet of the idols.
Yeah.
I want to go beyond the level of the.
Why even touch the idols? If you actually,
I will attain Supreme Lord.
Yeah, you can even embrace the Lord.
Yes, I will.
Yes. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Guruji.
Any other last question, anybody?
I feel today's discussion was a blessed discussion, and everybody will sleep with a very open and a happy mind and get up with Lord Krishna's blessings tomorrow morning.
Yes. We can actually attain the personal association of the Lord.
I am feeling it.
That is the power of bhakti, and it is not so difficult. In our day-to-day life, if we can give some time to the Lord, then it is said, if you take one step towards the Lord takes 1,000 steps towards you. And it is said the Lord's steps are bigger than our steps, much bigger than our steps. If you see Bali Maharaj's pastime, with 3 steps, just 2 steps, actually, he actually covered the entire universe. So Krishna is very eager, but he just wants us to take that little steps. And if we take that, then he actually gives us his association. So that is actually most relishable, and that is the greatest thing to be achieved. Yes. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. We will stop over here. Thank you so much.
Prabhuji, should we chant the Hare Krishna mantra before we stop? Because we never do that. Everybody in the class should be chanting together before we stop.
Yes, we will do it. Actually, early mornings, which we have classes in the morning also. So before that, we have chanting session where we have a Zoom call like this, and everyone sits and everyone participates in the japa. We do that. After that, we have the Bhagavatam class. Yeah. So in the night, what happens is that it's already 8 to 9:30 sometimes, and already people are. We become tired because.
But I think one line japa is to end the program would be like respecting the entire.
Yeah, definitely. We can chant. One time we can chant.
Yes, that's
chant together. Yes, one, 2 times we can always chant.
Yeah.
We can chant even now also. Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare
Rama, Hare
Rama, Rama
Rama, Hare Hare.
Yes.
Jai Shri Prabhupada ki Jai. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.